We got our hands on the raw footage of Kamala Harris's 60 Minutes interview. Last October, in the heat of the election, Harris, Hail Mary with CBS. But the network was caught deceptively editing this answer. Watch.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening. The Wall Street Journal said that that your administration has repeatedly been blindsided by Netanyahu. And in fact, he has rebuffed just about all of your administration's entreaties.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. And we're not going to stop doing that. We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Trump sued CBS for $10 billion, and it looks like they might settle. But before that happens, the FCC released the full interview, unedited, and we have the tape. They talked for an hour and left a lot out.
Several months later.
And the one thing that we will continue to do is to make sure that he doesn't walk free in the United States of America. This individual was a known human smuggler, a MS-13 gang member, an individual who was a wife beater, and someone who was so perverted that he solicited nude photos from minors. And even his fellow human traffickers told him to knock it off. He was so sick in what he was doing and how he was treating small children. So he needs to never be in the United States of America, and our administration is making sure we're doing all that we can to bring him to justice.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So once again, we got to talk about CBS News getting caught, busted, allegedly, deceptively editing an interview with a politician in a way that just so happens to fit the narrative of the mainstream liberal media, or in a way that censors the narrative that the mainstream liberal media doesn't want you to hear. And that appears to be what happened in this interview between Kristi Noem and CBS that we got to talk about. Before we talk about it, I have to remind you guys why this is kind of a big deal is because CBS got sued by the Trump administration for deceptively editing the interview that they did with Kamala Harris before the election. Okay, they tried to make Kamala sound more competent than she actually was. In this situation, it seems as if CBS News edited out part of the clip in which Kristi Noem told an uncomfortable truth about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, that he's not just a Maryland man, right, that was wrongly deported to El Salvador, that he should be allowed to stay. No. That's not the narrative that CBS wants you to hear, which apparently is why they edited out this part of the interview from Kristi Noem. I'm going to go ahead and play the interview that actually aired, okay? And then I'm going to play the full interview because they released the full interview after getting caught, after Kristi Noem called him out for deceptively editing the interview. So without further ado, let's get into it.
High-profile examples of someone who's been rounded up by ICE in recent months is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and the fate of his situation is still up in the air. He's awaiting trial on human smuggling charges set for January in Tennessee. But your department's also working to get him deported to Uganda. If he broke the law in this country, as the administration alleges, shouldn't he be held here and face charges here instead of being deported?
Well, prosecution decisions are always made by the Department of Justice and Pam Bondi's department, so we will let them do that. Although this individual does have criminal charges pending, he has charges pending against him civilly as well. And the one thing that we will continue to do is to make sure that he doesn't walk free in the United States of America.
But I heard you say there were...
All right, so at this point, right, this is apparently when they edited it out, okay? The full response that Kristi Noem gave. So just keep that in mind before we go into the actual full video.
We're going to let the Justice Department do that. Does that mean the push to deport him to Uganda is off?
Oh, we will still continue to pursue all options.
Okay.
We will make sure that he's not released into this country. So regardless of that, yes, absolutely. He's not an American citizen and he shouldn't be here. And especially because of his dangerous criminal activities, we should ensure that we leave every avenue on the table.
Yeah. So apparently this is what aired on WCBS New York, right? This is where this clip is from. So this is what aired on local news, right? This is what they put on local news. Now, after getting called out, they decided to release the full video on YouTube, and this is the full response.
One of the most high-profile examples of someone who's been rounded up by ICE in recent months is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and the fate of his situation is still up in the air. He's awaiting trial on human smuggling charges set for January in Tennessee. But your department's also working to get him deported to Uganda. If he broke the law in this country, as the administration alleges, shouldn't he be held here and face charges here instead of being deported?
Well, prosecution decisions are always made by the Department of Justice and Pam Bondi's department, so we will let them do that. Although this individual does have criminal charges pending, he has charges pending against him civilly as well. And the one thing that we will continue to do is to make sure that he doesn't walk free in the United States of America. This individual was a known human smuggler, a MS-13 gang member, an individual who was a wife beater, and someone who was so perverted that he solicited nude photos from minors, and even his fellow human traffickers told him to knock it off. He was so sick in what he was doing and how he was treating small children. So he needs to never be in the United States of America, and our administration is making sure we're doing all that we can to bring him to justice.
But I heard
Wow. Did you guys see it? Did you guys catch it? Right? So CBS edited out the part of the interview where she went over all of the allegations against Abrego Garcia, right? All of the uncomfortable truths that CBS doesn't want aired, right, on their network, right? And for whatever reason, they left that part out. They cut that part out. Now, again, let's go ahead and play it so people can understand exactly what is being alleged here.
And the one thing that we will continue to do is to make sure that he doesn't walk free in the United States of America. This individual was a known human smuggler, a MS-13 gang member, an individual who was a wife beater, and someone who was so perverted that he solicited nude photos from minors, and even his fellow human traffickers told him to knock it off. He was so sick in what he was doing and how he was treating small children. So he needs to never be in the United States of America, and our administration is making sure we're doing all that we can to bring him to justice. And
Wow. So again, after Kristi Noem called him out, they initially released the edited video, right? So this is the video without that clip, right? Without that part. That's what they initially released, okay, when they dropped this interview. 12 minutes and 48 seconds. After getting called out, right, then they immediately released the full interview, right, in which you have that part. But again, what they aired was the interview without that part, right, where they took that part of it out. Now, I already know what the defense from the mainstream liberal media is going to be, right? Even though this is the second time CBS has been caught doing this, I already know what the defense is going to be. Well, they had to edit out some of the interview because there's only a certain amount of time available to run an interview, right, on air, right? There's only a certain amount of time, okay? We don't have enough time. That's what they're going to say. But my problem with this defense is that why that part? Who decided that part of the interview should be edited out versus some other part of the interview, right? Because in my opinion, I think that was a very important part of the interview. When you talk about an individual being accused of all those things that Kristi Noem outlined, right? And when you talk about a national conversation about whether or not this person should be allowed to stay in our country, I think that it would be journalistic malpractice to not inform the viewers about the full view of the Trump administration and why they're deporting this guy, right? Outside of, well, they're just trying to be mean to brown people, right? Outside of that, okay, why is it that they're trying to deport the guy? Why is it that the administration doesn't want him in our country? That's a very important part of the interview to air so that viewers understand the individual that we're dealing with. So it just so happens that they edit out part of the interview that doesn't fit the narrative from the mainstream media that, again, this guy is just some innocent Maryland dad, right? He never did anything wrong. Republicans just hate brown people, right? If you're going to edit out parts of an interview because you need to fit the interview within, I don't know, an hour time slot. I don't know how long these shows air, right? On cable news or whatever. Edit out the parts of the interviews that you do with Democrats where they're going on and on and on about how Trump is a threat to democracy and he's evil and he's the worst. We've already heard that 1,000 times. Edit that part out, right? If you need to really cut down the interview, right, in order to make it fit, if that's your excuse, edit out the parts of the interviews with Democrats where they come on your network and they say the same damn thing every single week, okay, where they boo-hoo, whine, and cry about Trump every single day. Edit that part out. The American people don't need to hear that. That's the part of the interview we don't need to hear. But the part of the interview that we do need to hear is about the allegations against this illegal immigrant. Because again, you have people fighting for somebody like that to stay in our country. So people need to understand and need to be informed, fully informed about the individual that Democrats are fighting on behalf of. So is this a coincidence? Is this another coincidence? Oh, another coincidence in which they just so happen to engage in deceptive editing that seems to be beneficial towards the Democrats and the mainstream liberal media narrative. Just a coincidence? I don't think so. I don't think so at this point. So, I mean, listen. This is why the mainstream liberal media has no credibility. It's stuff like this. If it keeps happening over and over and over again, at some point, people are going to conclude that, you guys are in the bag for Democrats. You guys will do whatever you can to give Democrats an advantage. And this is what we talk about when we talk about how right now the current political landscape is not on an even playing field. The Democrats have all of the mainstream liberal media. A vast majority of legacy media is behind Democrats. They're behind Democrats. All of them. And they will do anything they can to push the narrative that Democrats won't push. And then when they get caught red-handed, they want to look at you like you're the crazy person. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. This is actually happening, right? That we're not deceptively editing on behalf of Kamala Harris. We're not doing that, right? But to me, again, it's the same pattern of behavior over and over and over again. This is how the game is rigged, right? This is just another example of how the game is rigged. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.